The phenomenon of Thich Minh Tue on social media recently has attracted special attention from the Buddhist community as well as the general public. The image of a monk with a humble appearance, wearing a brown robe, barefoot, quietly walking through various paths in Vietnam, without carrying money, not accepting material offerings, only asking for enough vegetarian food to get by each day, has provoked much contemplation about the meaning of monastic life and the value of genuine practice in the era of modernization and materialism. Thich Minh Tue, according to what has been shared on social media, is a monk practicing austerity, based on the 13 ascetic practices as a foundation for his cultivation. Asceticism is one of the strictest practices in the Theravada Buddhist tradition, emphasizing renunciation, endurance, and minimalist living. The 13 ascetic practices include wearing patched robes, collected robes, having only 3 robes, begging for alms, eating once a day, eating from a bowl, not choosing a place to eat, dwelling under a tree, staying in desolate places, not lying on a high bed, not lying fixed in one place, etc. These practices aim to cultivate detachment, eliminate craving, develop spiritual inner strength, and express the ideal of renunciation and liberation. The pilgrimage of Thich Minh Tue not only stops in Vietnam, but also extends to South Asian countries such as Thailand, Myanmar, Laos, and Cambodia. Nations with a long-standing Buddhist tradition, where the practices of asceticism and austerity are revered and widely practiced. There, the image of monks going on alms rounds, living a simple life, not hoarding, and only accepting the necessary food to sustain their bodies, is an indispensable part of the spiritual and cultural life of the local community. Thich Minh Tue chose this path not to gain fame or attract attention, but to practice the teachings of the Buddha correctly, demonstrating perseverance, resilience, and a deep faith in the Dharma. The appearance of Thich Minh Tue has created a wave of interest, debate, and even admiration within the online community. Many express their respect for the teacher's steadfastness, simplicity, and spirit of letting go. Some question the true meaning of the ascetic practice in the context of modern society, wondering whether it is necessary to endure such hardship and whether this is the only path to liberation. Other opinions express concern about the deification, personal worship, or the misinterpretation and distorted practice of the teachings if one only looks at the surface without understanding the essence of Buddhist teachings. In fact, in the history of Buddhism, the practice of asceticism has been encouraged by the Buddha Shakyamuni for those monks with suitable dispositions in order to eliminate subtle afflictions, develop a mind of renunciation, and cultivate wisdom. However, the Buddha also taught about the middle way, avoiding the two extremes: indulgence in sensual pleasures and excessive self-mortification. The purpose of asceticism is not to harm the body, but to train the mind, let go of attachments, live a liberated life, and free oneself from all material and spiritual constraints. Looking at it broadly, the phenomenon of Thich Minh Tue also reflects the desire to return to the original, simple, and authentic values of Buddhism in an era where many feel that spiritual life is being commercialized and formalized. The emergence of monks who live in accordance with the spirit of renunciation, indifferent to fame and profit, and not chasing after material wealth, serves as a powerful reminder to the Buddhist community about the core meaning of practice: letting go, eliminating attachment, and developing compassion and wisdom. However, it is also necessary to view this matter with clarity and balance. Not everyone has the sufficient foundation, willpower, and circumstances to practice asceticism. The Buddha once taught that each person should choose a practice that suits their own foundation and circumstances, using wisdom as their career and compassion as their foundation. Lay practitioners can cultivate within family life, practice the 5 precepts, give alms, maintain a pure mind, and develop wisdom through learning and meditation. Monastics can choose a suitable practice, from meditation, chanting, and teaching the Dharma to ascetic practices, as long as they maintain a pure mind and aim for liberation. The phenomenon of Thich Minh Tue also raises questions for the Buddhist community about the attitude towards particularly exemplary practitioners. Instead of deifying or venerating individuals, we should learn from the spirit of letting go, perseverance, patience, and deep faith in the 3 jewels that the teacher embodies. Let this serve as motivation to reflect on ourselves, to see how we have practiced the Dharma, Whether we have truly let go of greed, anger, and ignorance, or if we are still attached to forms, fame, and material possessions. One point to note is that in the age of social media development, all information and images can be exaggerated, distorted, or used for improper purposes. A Buddhist practitioner needs to maintain a calm and alert mind, not follow trends, not get caught up in controversial debates, but instead use wisdom to reflect, distinguish between right and wrong, and uphold faith in the teachings, not allowing external circumstances to disturb their mind. For those who are truly interested in the practice of asceticism, it is advisable to thoroughly understand the meaning, purpose, and methods of practice, preferably under the guidance of genuine and experienced teachers, to avoid misunderstandings and incorrect practices that could harm the body and mind and negatively impact the image of Buddhism. For the Vietnamese Buddhist community and the world, the phenomenon of Thich Minh Tue serves as a reminder of the core values of Buddhism: letting go, compassion, wisdom, and liberation. Regardless of the practice one follows, whether monastic or lay, everyone can embody the spirit of renunciation in daily life. Letting go of unnecessary desires, living simply, being content, not chasing after material things, maintaining a peaceful mind, being generous in love, helping others, developing wisdom, and striving for liberation from all suffering. Remember that the path of Buddhism is the path of wisdom and compassion. Do not let external forms and temporary phenomena obscure the ultimate goal of practitioners: liberation from the cycle of birth and death and reaching the blissful nirvana. Use the example of true practitioners like Thich Minh Tue as motivation to be more diligent in your studies, but do not blindly imitate or copy. Instead, reflect and choose the practice that suits you, maintain your faith, and live according to the teachings of the Buddha. For society, the emergence of ascetic monks like Thich Minh Tue serves as a reminder of the values of simplicity, humility, compassion, and the spirit of service. In a world full of struggles, competition, and materialism, such examples help us realize that true happiness does not come from having more, but from knowing enough, letting go, and living in harmony with nature, the community, and oneself. If you are young, look at the mirror of Thich Minh Tue to see that the meaning of life is not just about making money and achieving fame, but also about seeking spiritual values, living with ideals, knowing how to love and share. If you are older, take that as motivation to let go of worries and troubles, to live peacefully and calmly, and to focus on noble values. If you are someone who is wondering about the path of practice, remember that Buddhism has many teachings and many paths suitable for each person's nature and circumstances. It is not necessary to practice austerity to be noble. What is important is to keep the mind pure, live according to the right teachings, refrain from doing evil, diligently do good deeds, maintain a clear mind, and develop wisdom and compassion. If you are a skeptic, use your intellect to reflect, thoroughly investigate the teachings, the meanings of the practices, and the ultimate purpose of the monastic life. Do not rush to judge, do not follow the crowd, but instead, experience for yourself. Verify the value of the Buddha's teachings through practice in daily life. If you are someone who has been practicing, take the example of true practitioners like Thich Minh Tue as motivation to be more diligent, more persistent, to maintain your faith, and not to lose heart in the face of difficulties and challenges. Remember that the path to liberation is not easy. It requires perseverance, patience, letting go, and profound wisdom. Finally, the phenomenon of Thich Minh Tue is an opportunity for each person to reflect on themselves, to ask, have I truly lived according to the Buddha's teachings? How much greed, anger, and ignorance have I let go of? Have I learned to be content, to let go, to live peacefully in the present? How much compassion and wisdom have I developed? How many people around me have I helped? Have I truly directed my mind towards liberation, towards nirvana? The path of Buddhism is the path of freedom, peace, and liberation. Each person should choose a suitable way for themselves, using wisdom as their career, compassion as their foundation, maintaining firm faith, living in accordance with the true teachings, and continuously striving on the journey towards enlightenment. Be sure to appreciate true practitioners like Thich Minh Tue, but also maintain a vigilant mind. Do not deify them. Do not chase after appearances, but use that as motivation to improve yourself, to live better, more peacefully, and more happily in every moment of life. That is the profound meaning the sustainable value that the phenomenon of Thich Minh Tue brings to the Vietnamese Buddhist community and the world.